Hello, I'm Cath and this is made by Cath Craft. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you're a long-term viewer. And thank you for joining me for this video, which is going to be a big sewing catch-up. So over the last few weeks, I've been releasing videos. I've done a couple of videos one about new patterns, one about free sewing patterns, and last week's video was about a new shirt dress pattern that was out and I was reviewing that. I'll link that one up above in case you haven't seen it yet. But I realised that during the last few weeks, I haven't really been catching up on what I've actually been sewing. And I have done some lovely sewing. So I thought I'd put everything I've been up to in this video. I've also got some new fabric and new project to share. And I've also been beavering away in the evenings at a new crochet project as well. So I'll be talking about that one as well, but I'll pop that at the end of the video. So yeah, I feel there's quite a lot to catch up on. So I thought it was about time to do a catch-up video and share my new makes and everything that I've been up to. So that is the plan today. Before I get started on sharing everything that I've been up to on the sewing front and the crochet front too, I'll just kick off by sharing what I'm wearing today for my handmade wardrobe. So today I've got on a handmade top and a handmade skirt. I'll stand up in a moment so you can see the skirt, but I'll talk about the top first. This top I made using the Blommer tank pattern by Paradise Patterns, and I made this one last year. I just fancy trying a different style of sort of vest or tank top. I love the True Bias Zoe, which is a little bit more strappy and has like a lower neckline. But I'd seen quite a lot of these more athletic racer style tank tops about, and I really fancied trying a pattern. I know the Blommer tank is quite a popular one, so I thought I'd give it a go. And I really like the pattern actually. It has a really good size range. It goes from a bust of 30 inches up to a bust of 60 inches, and it has B and D cup options. So yeah, I made the B cup option, and I think I sized down slightly on my measurements because the fabric I made my tank top in is extra stretchy. And when I had to look at the stretch percentage in it compared to the fabric recommendations of the pattern, it was more stretchy than the pattern recommended. So I thought it'd be good to size down a little bit so it does kind of feel like it does fit to me and isn't just a little bit loose. So yeah, I made it in this really lovely fabric, one of my favourite jersey fabrics. It's a ribbed tencel jersey fabric by Meat Milk. I'll stand up a bit so you can see the kind of ribbed texture to it, hopefully. Hopefully you can see that on the camera. It's always quite hard to see with the black, I think, isn't it? But yeah, I just wanted to make quite a basic, simple black tank. So that's how it sits around the shoulders. So it's quite bra friendly. I just kind of can sort of tuck my bra straps in a little bit there so they don't show, and then I'll turn to the back. So you can see the back there too. It's got quite nice, fairly wide armbands and a neckband. It came together really well, and I think it's perfect in this fabric, which is so lovely and soft and comfy and stretchy with great recovery. So perfect for a kind of tank top. I've also made a True Bias Zoe in this fabric, but in a kind of creamy coloured version of it. I'll link it down below. I got it from Minerva. It comes in so many colours, and I'll definitely recommend it if you're thinking about making like a close-fitting summer top. So yeah, that's my Blommer tank. I think the only adjustment I made was to lengthen it slightly, just because I've got a longer torso, so I lengthen most things. But yeah, I'm really happy with it actually, and I find it goes with quite a lot of things in my wardrobe. And today I've got it on with one of my favourite summer skirts. I always love wearing this one. I'll step back so you can see it before I mention which pattern it is. I don't know if you'll be able to recognise it or not. So I made this skirt using the Mave skirt pattern by True Bias, but I thought you might not recognise it if you haven't seen this one before, because it's actually a hack of the Mave skirt pattern. So the Mave skirt pattern has this lovely elasticated waist that kind of pulls in at your natural waist, and an optional waist tie, and I've gone for the waist tie on this version. And then it's a pattern that's really, really versatile. It has a number of different tier options and length options, so you can make just your perfect summer gathered skirt in it, I think. But the version I'm wearing today, I made using a hack on the True Bias website to make the Mave with a curved hem that kind of comes up at the sides and then dips down at the front and back. And I saw that version pop up on True Bias's Instagram feed, and I loved it. So I really wanted to give it a go, and I think it's a bit different. Not your classic gathered skirt with that dipped hem. So yeah, I really enjoyed trying it for this version, and the reason I love this skirt so much, I love the dipped hem, but also I just love this fabric. It just makes me so happy. And I don't always go for super bright fabrics with loads of colours in. But yeah, I love this one. It's kind of, I'll stand a bit so you can see again. It's a bit painterly, I guess. It feels like it sort of paint splashes all over the fabric. But what I love about it is it's got like a black base to it, so all the colours really pop against the black. Yeah, so I love it. It is a Minerva exclusive viscose challis fabric. So I'll link it again down below. It's still available. It's I didn't mention what type of fabric it is, silly me. It's a viscose challis fabric. So lovely and drapey and floaty and lightweight, perfect for summer. And I think because there's so many different colours in it, you can wear any colour top really to pull out the different colours in it. So yeah, that is what I'm wearing today. I'll pop a picture up so you can see what the whole outfit looks like on, and I'll link the patterns down below as well as the fabrics. So that's what I'm wearing today, but now I'll move on to sharing what I've been up to on the sewing front. And the first thing I wanted to share is one of my new makes. I finished this one a few days ago and I've already worn it out and really enjoyed wearing it. And it's actually another midi length skirt. So yeah, quite a similar length to the mauve skirt I'm wearing today, but quite a different skirt, a different pattern. But yeah, I'm really enjoying wearing midi skirts this summer. I'm finding I'm reaching for mine a lot. I think I just find the midi length quite a practical length to wear. I think they provide a bit of sort of coverage. If you're out in the sun, they kind of cover a bit more of your legs up than a short skirt, and also a bit more, give you a bit more warmth as well, because we've been having quite a lot of weather where the sun's out 1 minute and then it'll go behind a cloud and it'll be a bit windy and a bit cooler. So I quite like the midi length to keep my legs a bit warmer. But also I find it a bit more practical than like a full maxi length skirt, which can kind of catch around your ankles, catch on your sandals sometimes, and just, yeah, I just don't find them quite as practical to wear. And midi's quite on trend at the moment, so I guess I've probably seen quite a lot of versions popping up and inspiring me too. So yes, I decided to make myself a new midi length skirt, and I made this using some fabric that I've had in my stash for a few months now. I'll show you the fabric. You might remember it from a fabric haul video, probably maybe earlier this year, I think. But this is the fabric here. It's a lovely viscose fabric that I got from Sew Me Sunshine. I'm not sure if it's still in stock there. If it is, I'll link it down below. But it's got this sort of, I guess, a zebra style print on in like a white and a navy blue. And I actually bought this fabric a bit on a whim. I'd actually found some other fabric on Sew Me Sunshine's website I liked, and I was buying that. And then this fabric caught my eye when I was looking through the viscose section, because the other fabric I bought was the viscose too. And I just put it in my basket and bought it on a whim, and I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do with it. But I had a bit of a sort of thought in the back of my mind that it might make a really lovely bias cut skirt, which is something I've been wanting to sew for quite a while. So that is what I've sewn up. I've made my first ever bias cut garment, and it's a bias cut skirt, and this is it here. I wasn't sure with the zebra print how it would look going on the diagonal, but I hoped it would look nice, and I quite like how it looks, because obviously the way you cut it, the actual fabric would be more the zebra print going down the grain like this, but I quite like it kind of as a bit of movement going to the side, and I think a bias cut skirt does have lots of movement. So this is my bias cut skirt, and I tried a new pattern company for this skirt actually. I'd kind of researched a little bit about different bias cut skirt options. There are a few out there. I know there's I think it's the Tessuti Evie skirt I've seen, and also the Sati skirt, I think by Vicky Sews, and I'd like to look at them both. But I was a bit nervous because I think one of them features a concealed zip, and I thought for my first bias cut garment, then to add in a zip as well, I thought it might just be a bit overwhelming. I wanted to keep it a bit more simple, and I think maybe another one had elastic, but I'd seen some people saying they'd had trouble getting it over their hips, but then also to fit around their waist with the elastic. So I was a bit concerned about the fit and whether it would fit my hips and my waist, or might end up being a bit of a squeeze. And anyway, I was a bit nervous generally. And then I saw a pattern go by on Instagram by Soften Studio, and it's called their Clo Bias Skirt. I haven't got the printed instructions out. I did it all using my computer, having the instructions on there. So I'll put a picture up So you can see what this pattern looks like. So it's the Chloe bias skirt by Soften Studio. And I wasn't familiar with the pattern or that pattern company until I saw it go by on Instagram. But what I really liked about it is it's a bias cut skirt, but it has a sort of elasticated, drawn in waistband. So basically there's a little bit more room in it, I guess, than you get in like a very close fitting bias skirt that kind of hugs you around the waist and the hips. So I thought if the fit was a bit more forgiving, I could just concentrate on trying cutting out fabric and sewing fabric on the bias without having to worry quite as much about the fit. And then maybe next time I'll try one of the next step up patterns. They're a bit more tricky that do require that fit in either a concealed zip or something along those lines. So I thought it'd be a great beginner bias cut skirt pattern. And it really was actually. It was a lovely pattern to sew. I'll give you all the details. So it's available in a UK 6 to 24 and it takes you up to a 52.7 inch hip. And you can make it as a midi or a full length skirt. And I made the midi length skirt. It says the pattern is designed for someone who's 5'7". I'm 5'6" and I chose not to shorten it by an inch for my slightly shorter height. And I'll put up a picture in a moment so you can see where it comes to on me, just to get an idea of where the midi length falls based on my height. I made a size 10. My measurements put me between an 8 and 10. And I was a bit worried it might end up being a bit snug with a size 8. So I thought it'd be best to size up and that the waist would gather it in anyway with the elastic. But I do think having made it, I probably could have gone for the size 8 and it would have been okay and just maybe give me a little bit less fabric around, but I'm happy with the size 10. So I don't know which size I'd make again. Maybe I'd try the size 8 just to see how the fit varied. But the size 10 is perfectly fine. It doesn't have any pockets. I guess probably pockets don't work very well in a bias cut skirt. So it's quite simple. There weren't that many pattern pieces to cut out. And it used 2 meters of fabric, which is what I had of this fabric. So it pretty much used the whole 2 meters because of the way you cut the pattern pieces. They're quite large and cut, on the bias. They do take up quite a lot of room on the fabric, how you place them. But yeah, the whole skirt just sewed up really, really nicely, actually. The instructions are great. It has a lovely finish with this skirt. The instructions give you details about finishing the seams with French seams. The side seams, you can see, are finished with a French seam there. And then even the waistband is actually totally enclosed. You don't end up with an external seam there, you can see. That's the inside. So it's a very neat finish all round for this skirt. And I was a bit worried about with the bias cut. I took my time over the cutting, made sure the fabric was, just laid out really nice and flat and not twisted or anything, so that it would hopefully cut really nicely. And I was a bit worried though about the seams on the side, whether they'd ripple and stretch or anything like that. But actually, the way the pattern tells you to cut out, you kind of cut one pattern piece out one way and the other one the other way up. And apparently that helps when you sew the seams because the grains are going in slightly different directions, I think, so they don't drag in one direction. So it seems to kind of hold them together a little bit and stop them from sort of stretching or rippling. Or at least I found that was the case. I found the seams came together really nicely and I was really, really happy with the finish on them. And then once I finished the skirt, I hung it up and I did leave it to let the fabric naturally sort of relax a little bit. And I did find that once that had happened, I did need to take a little bit off right at the front and right at the back. It just dropped slightly more there than at the side seams. So I needed to just flatten it off a little bit at the bottom there at the front and the back, maybe by about 1.5 centimeters was the maximum at the front and back. I had my husband help me measure. So yeah, there was a little bit of adjustment there. It's definitely worth waiting a couple of days before hemming. But yeah, other than that, it was definitely not as scary as I thought. And I'll put up a picture now so you can see what it looks like on. I'm really happy with it actually. I don't have any other bias cut garments in my wardrobe. I don't even have any ready to wear bias cut garments. It's never something I've really tried before. But it just has such a lovely feel and movement to it when I wear it. It just feels really nice to wear, and it does have a different feel how the fabric hangs to wearing a skirt that isn't cut on the bias. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed wearing it. I'm glad I was able to use this fabric and turn it into what I was thinking about, but I'm a bit nervous to try. So yes, that is my first make, the Chloe bias cut skirt by Soften Studio. I'd really recommend that pattern if you are new to sort of sewing on the bias and would like something that isn't too scary and hold your hand through the process. And I'll link the pattern down below in case you do fancy giving it a go. So that's my Chloe bias cut skirt. And I definitely feel a little bit less daunted now about the idea of sewing bias cut garments. I think that was a great starter project to boost my confidence a little bit. And I think next I'd definitely like to try one of those patterns I mentioned before, either the Saty skirt or the Evie skirt. One of those bias cut skirt patterns that is a bit more fitted, has that fitted look around the waist and the hips. So yeah, that's next on my list to try. I haven't got any fabric yet, and I'm not sure which pattern I'm going to go for, but I'll be keeping my eye out for some nice fabric. So hopefully I'll be able to try one of those in the not too distant future. So that was my first make that I wanted to share. And then the second make that I've got to share is actually a top I made with a view to sort of wearing it with my midi cut skirts, including the Chloe bias cut skirt. And I made this top to sort of fill a gap that I've noticed in my wardrobe. For quite a basic this is. It is for an oversized white t-shirt. So here's my second make, my oversized white t-shirt. As you can see, it's nice and boxy. And just perfect, I thought, of teaming with a bias cut skirt, not a bias cut skirt, a midi skirt, including a bias cut skirt, just to give quite a casual vibe, maybe paired with some sandals or some trainers. Yeah, I thought that would be quite nice. So yes, this is my second make. And this is a t-shirt that I made using one of my favourite go-to t-shirt patterns. I think probably a lot of us have our favourite t-shirt patterns where we just love the fit and can make them over and over again. And for an oversized t-shirt, my favourite is this one here. It is the Solar Tee and Sweater pattern by Paper Cut Patterns. So it's quite a nice boxy style t-shirt or sweatshirt with a dropped shoulder, a classic crew neck. It sews up really nicely and I just really like the fit of it. The pattern does have this lovely option for a little ruffle built into the shoulder of the t-shirt and the sweatshirt, which I've mentioned before, but I also just love making this pattern without the ruffle, and that's what I wanted for this t-shirt. Just wanted it to be very simple, nice and relaxed, and just easy to throw on, yeah, with a midi skirt or jeans or anything. I think it will just be one of those things I get a lot of wear out of. Just try to have to keep it nice and clean because it's so white. So yeah, this is my latest Solar Tee, and I made it in a lovely bamboo jersey fabric. I kind of wanted quite a drapey t-shirt, and bamboo jersey I think is perfect for that. I've got a few bamboo jersey t-shirts now that I've made using different patterns, and I always love wearing them. It's such a lovely, soft, comfortable material to wear, I find. And this bamboo jersey I got from Minerva. They have a really nice range. I think it's 95% bamboo and then 5% elastane. And I bought from that range before in a couple of other colours, and I just find it's quite a nice quality wash as well, wear as well. So yes, this is the latest edition, and yeah, I just made, I think, the size extra small, which is now I think maybe the size 6 on the updated pattern, which has a slightly larger size range. No adjustments really, other than maybe to lengthen the body slightly. Yeah, I'll just be tucking it into skirts and jeans and just enjoying having this in my wardrobe, because I just feel like it's one of those things that every wardrobe should have, I guess, like a relaxed oversized white t-shirt. So yeah, that is my second make. I'll pop a picture up so you can see what that looks like on. Yeah, it was quite nice to have that. I kind of made my skirt and this one around the same time, and it was nice to have one very simple straightforward make, and then one that felt like a bit more of a challenge with the bias cut. I used my twin needle around the neckline, stitch it down, which I think is quite a nice finish. And yeah, there's not much else to say about this one really, other than I think I'm going to get a lot of wear out of it. So yeah, that is my new Solar Tee by Paper Cut Patterns, and I'll link the pattern and the fabric down below too. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about is a new sewing project that I've got lined up, and I'm really excited about this one. I think it is going to be a lot of fun to sew up and hopefully a lot of fun to wear too. So this weekend, on Saturday afternoon, I am heading to a friend's house for a sewing session together, which should be so lovely. My friend lives quite locally, and a few years ago we used to have a sewing night where we get together on one evening in the week and each take our sewing project and have a chat and a cup of tea and a bit of a sew. But then somehow life got in the way and those sessions sort of petered out, and we often do still now go for a walk and talk about sewing, but we don't actually ever get together and do sewing together. But this weekend, her husband and kids are off on a camping trip and she's staying home, so she said, did I fancy coming over and having an afternoon where we do get to sew and chat and drink tea and just, yeah, enjoy being together and working on something creative. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And I wanted to have a new project to go there to do that I could get really stuck into for the afternoon. And I had in mind a new pattern that I really wanted to give a try. So I went and had a look for some fabric to go with this new pattern. I got the pattern, instructions are all printed out now, and I've actually got the fabric all cut out as well, ready for this weekend. So now all I need to do is kind of pack my sewing machine, all the sewing accessories I need, and just head over to her house. But yeah, I'll share with you what I'm planning to make. I don't know how far I'll get this weekend, but I'm hoping I'll make some really good progress on it. I would like to make the Fleur blouse by Fabric Godmother. So Fabric Godmother's new pattern. So this is the Fleur blouse and dress pattern here, which was released, I think, a couple of weeks ago now. I did a video actually talking about a few new patterns, which I'll link up above, and this was one of them. So it's kind of like a Magani inspired blouse here with this sort of tie front and these puff sleeves and little sort of gathered peplum. But you can also make it as a dress, and you can also make it as a sleeveless version too. And one really cool thing about the Fleur dress and blouse is it features like a hidden placket, so you don't have that gap down the front. It's got a bit more modesty, I guess, to it, which I really like that feature. I just thought it'd make it a bit more wearable, really. So yeah, I really like this pattern when it came out. It's got a good size range too. It comes in a B&D cup, and it goes from a UK 6 up to a UK 30, which takes you up to hip of 56 3/4 inches and 2 different bust sizes, depending on whether you're a B or a D. So yeah, it's got a really good size range. It just looks like a lot of fun. I have seen the Gani blouse around for a while, and I've seen people hacking different patterns to create that kind of tie front effect on Instagram. And I wasn't sure it was totally for me, but I just thought it would be such a fun thing to try. And I'm really excited about the fabric I've chosen. So yeah, I've got my pattern all printed out. And what I really liked actually when I bought this pattern is how there's like a eco version to print out. So you print out in black and white, and all the pictures are still really nice and clear. Still, I wasn't sure how clear they'd be in black and white. But yeah, it was quite nice, and you can see they're still really nice and clear, the pictures. So I printed that out, and I got my fabric here, and I got my fabric from First for Fabrics. I was having a little search on their website, and I found they had this really lovely gingham fabric that came in different sizes. So I went for the black and white gingham, and for the main fleur I'm going to use this size gingham here. So it's a yarn dyed gingham, which is lovely, so you've got the gingham on both sides not printed on, which I really like. And I think this is the sort of midi size gingham, so they have a maxi, which is the larger size, a midi this size, and then a mini gingham. And so I'm going for the midi gingham for the main blouse, and I'll link the fabric down below. But then I thought I'd have a little bit of fun with the gingham, and I thought what I'd do was buy a little bit of the mini gingham and use that for the ties at the front. And I'm also going to use that for the binding, because you bind the neck and I think you bind the armholes, and you won't be able to see that, but I think it'll be a nice little feature on the inside too. And I had 0.5 meters of this, so I thought it'd be nice to use a little bit more of it. There's still quite a lot left actually, but it'll be, I think gingham's quite a usable fabric, and with it being kind of like I guess it's kind of like a cotton poplin weight sort of fabric, so it'll be useful for lots of crafty projects anyway, whatever I have left over. But so that is what I am planning. So I'm going to make the sleeveless blouse. I'm not sure about the puff sleeves for me, and I think if I did go for the puff sleeve version, I'd probably go for a drapier fabric than this gingham. Just the puff sleeves are a little bit more subtle. But I thought for like a sleeveless version, this fabric would be perfect, and the ties would just be really nice and stand up nicely, because the fabric has got a bit of, well, it's not super drapey, I guess. So yeah, they should just stand up nicely. So that is my plan. So yes, I've got everything cut out. So I'm the B cup. I can't remember what size I went for now. Let me just check. So I went for a size 6 in the end, a straight size 6. My bust measurement does fall between a size 6 and 8, but in the fitting notes advice in the pattern instructions, it does say, as the pattern is quite loose fitting, we recommend that you size down if you're between sizes. And actually, I think my waist and hips would put me between a size 8 and 10. But when I had a look at the finished garment measurements for the waist and hips, there's plenty of ease even in a size 6. So I thought I'd just make a straight size 6. And the only adjustment I've made is to just lengthen the main body pattern piece by 1/2 inch, sorry, just to bring it down very slightly there, which is a classic adjustment I often do. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to giving this pattern a try. I just think it'll be a lot of fun, and I really like the idea of playing with the gingham and having the different size gingham on it. I'm kind of envisaging it as a top that maybe I could either wear on its own with a pair of jeans or a pair of shorts in a day, or I can maybe wear it layered over like a black long sleeve top in the evening if I went out for dinner maybe. I don't know. we'll see how it turns out. It is a bit different to my usual style with the sort of frill around the bottom, the kind of peplum. It's not something I often go for, so I'm quite excited about just trying something different. I do love a gingham, and I love these two ginghams together, so I hope it'll work out well, and I think it'll be a really fun project to work on while I'm chatting to my friend. I did want to get the cutting out done before I got over to my friend's house, because I thought I wanted to make sure I got all the gingham lined up nicely so it does match as well as possible on the seams. And I thought there's a risk that if I was chatting there, I might not be concentrating hard enough on the cutting out and it might all end up a bit skew-if. So I thought I'll get all the cutting out done, so when I get there I can just enjoy the sewing and see how this pattern comes together. And I know a lot of people have been very, very positive about this pattern and are really loving it. So I'm really looking forward to giving it a try. And then maybe at some point in the future, I might give the puff sleeve blouse a go, or maybe the dress. Yeah, we'll see how I go this version first. But yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a really fun project and fun afternoon on Saturday too. So the next thing that I wanted to share is my new crochet project that I've been working on over the last few weeks. And I'm really, really enjoying this project. I always look forward to working on it in the evenings. I've been spending maybe half an hour every evening, just spending a bit of time on it and just finding it very relaxing and mindful. And I'm loving how it's shaping up. So hopefully it'll continue to shape up nicely. And before this project, I was working on a knitting project. I was knitting up a Wool in the Gang knitting kit, which I shared on here for a bright pink jumper. So it's been nice actually to have a change and move over from knitting to crochet. I do like to try and mix it up between both of those yarn crafts. So yes, and this is a pattern actually that I'd had my eye on for a while. So when I was getting towards the end of my knitting project, I did have another look at this pattern and started looking for some yarn so that I knew I had something to move on to when that knitting project was finished. So yes, this is actually my second ever crochet garment, or I've made like a snood as well, but in terms of an actual wearable piece of clothing, this is only my second crochet piece of clothing. And it's a vest pattern. It's this vest pattern here. It's called vest number 25 by Daisy and Peace. So actually the first garment I made using crochet was also a Daisy and Peace vest pattern. And I really I made that one I think last year, and I've really enjoyed wearing it over winter. I found I wore it a lot, so I thought it'd be nice to have another one in my wardrobe. And I'd seen this one a while ago and I thought it looked really, really pretty. So I'll hold it up a bit closer so you can see. So it's another vest with like ribbing around the neckline and armholes, and then a wider sort of chunky ribbing at the bottom. But it's made up of granny squares, which I think is really cute. These lovely little flower granny squares. And I love the detail of the stitching here, how it creates this sort of grid effect here with the white stitching onto the turquoise. I thought that was quite a pretty detail of the pattern too. So I thought it'd be a lot of fun to give it a try. In terms of difficulty rating, it says it's for upper beginner to intermediate, which I guess is probably where I feel I am. I have got a few crochet projects under my belt now and I do feel a bit more confident, but in terms of garments, that's still quite a new area for me. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. I had a lot of fun picking out colours for this one as well. And I'll show you where I've got to so you can see the colours I've gone for. Here is it's either the front or the back of my vest. The front and the back are the same at the moment. So yeah, I'm making good progress. It felt like I was at the granny square creation stage for quite a long time, because I think I had to make 40 of these granny squares and then 4 of these smaller ones that go on the shoulders. And then I had to sort of weave in all of the pieces of yarn that was left over from the different colours. So that took quite a while. And then I blocked them all to give them a nice shape, which I definitely found really useful actually. They definitely softened and relaxed a lot to the right size as well. They'd come up slightly smaller than the pattern recommended. Even though I had a go of one to start with to check the sizing. I had sized up one size on the crochet hook because I do knit and crochet a bit tightly. But they still came up slightly small, but when I blocked them with a bit of steam, they did relax and just get a little bit bigger. So I'm hoping it'll be okay, because I figure if each square's a little bit small, by the time you get quite a few of them put together, that brings the garment in quite a lot really. But anyway, yeah, I think they're okay now, and I've just started to sew them together using this lovely, I think it's like a visible slip stitch to create these lovely lines on the pattern. So yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it and I'm loving how it's looking. I don't know what the final garment will be like, how the fit is, but I'm definitely really enjoying the process. And the yarn I'm using is this yarn here. It is Debbie Bliss. It's a double knit yarn and it's a merino yarn. I got it from Love Crafts when there was a good special offer going. I was keeping my eye out because I know Love Crafts do often have good offers. And as soon as a good offer came up, I snapped this yarn up. So this is the main colour, this sort of dusky pink colour. And then I've gone for the kind of classic daisy colours, so like a white and a kind of soft yellow colour for the centre. And yeah, I'm just really loving the project actually. It's really enjoyable and I think I'm going to learn some new skills. I think once I've finished, I haven't seamed the other side. I've only got one side seamed so far. But I think I need to kind of then, there's some bits around filling in, some extra crochet around the armholes before you then add the ribbing on. So that'll be interesting to see how that works. I remember from my previous vest pattern that the ribbing was one of the trickiest bits because I think you make the ribbing separately and then attach it on. So it's a bit like attaching like a neckband to a jersey top, where you have to make sure it's the right length so it lies nice and flat, but isn't too stretched too tightly either. So that might be a bit of a challenging bit, but I've not got to there yet. I'm just enjoying the granny squares, this lovely stitching. And one thing I love about crochet is how you can use your crochet hook even for these seams. I find with knitting you have to get a needle out and it feels more like hand sewing. But I like with crochet how often you don't ever need to get a needle out, everything can be done with a crochet hook. So yeah, it's coming together nicely so far. I've gone for the smallest size, the size extra small to small, which is designed for a bust of 32.5 inches, 34.5 inches, and I'm on the smaller side of that. And it says the finished vest should have a size about around the bust of 38 inches. So I figure even if mine does end up a little bit smaller than it's supposed to, because the squares are very slightly smaller, hopefully there'll still be enough room there for me to wear it and it shouldn't be too tight. But we shall see. I'll keep you updated on progress on this one. It's a bit different to the other one I made, because the other one I made you kind of crochet from the bottom up, so you kind of adjust the length as you go. And this one's slightly different. I guess if I wanted to make it longer, I could add another row of squares at the bottom if I had enough yarn. But I had a look at, when I held it up against myself, I had a look at that and I thought then it might end up being a bit too long. So we'll see how the length ends up. I could always maybe make the ribbing a little bit extra chunky to bring it down a bit, but I don't know. It's very much just sort of seeing how I go on it at the moment. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I'm really happy with the colours I picked. I'll link the pattern and also I'll link the yarn. I mentioned the colours down below as well. I used this same yarn on my first crochet vest I made, and I found it nice and cosy for winter and also nice and soft, and it's also very nice to crochet with too, so I would recommend it. So yeah, that is my crochet project. I will update you in due course on how it's going. It's obviously a bit more of a slow burner than my sewing projects, but I do love that feeling of being able to sit down in the evening and work on it and just relax into it. So yeah, I thought I'd share that too. So that is everything that I've got to share in this video. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed hearing about what I've been sewing and what I've been crocheting too. Let me know in the comments down below what you're up to at the moment on the sewing or knitting or crochet front. I always love to hear about new patterns. And if you've enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, please do subscribe for more sewing chats. So thank you again for watching, and I'll hopefully see you for another video again very soon. But in the meantime, I hope you have a very lovely week. Thanks again. Bye.